With the success of Skyrim, it was only a matter of time before Bethesda would take another venture to the Fallout universe, especially since long-term fans of the series preferred Obsidian's New Vegas, as they saw it as a more formal return to form since members of Obsidian created the series in the first place. While I can't definitely say if New Vegas is better or not, as I haven't played it much, it is easy to say that Fallout 4 had high expectations, but the extent that Bethesda would reach these expectations would vary. I think that Bethesda did an effective job of making the story have a definitive end, while still allowing for the player to continue and play other quests. They did this in a similar way to Skyrim, using Radiant quests, albeit in a more open-ended way. The variety and options of your approach in the story is fairly interesting. The characters and factions have more nuance and motives than those in Fallout 3. You're still forced to complete some secondary objectives, primarily focusing on the new settlement function to proceed. While the segment can be short, it also encourages the player to neglect their character's primary motive. This means that the player can find themselves choosing between their needs or the needs of the wasteland, which is pretty interesting. But if you're to go straight for your character's own objectives, it forces you to play other stuff, which can take a long time if you don't know what path to take. Gameplay has also been improved for the most part. VATS has been downgraded to slow time as opposed to just stopping it. The gunplay is much better than in Fallout 3 and combat is faster, leading to VATS being more difficult to use at the medium to close ranges that you'll typically experience. Melee combat is also better than 3 while being more clunky than Skyrim, but can provide for a fairly interesting playstyle. I'm not quite sure I like the leveling system. It is closer to Skyrim than Fallout 3, but it does have more quality options than either, making choosing perks difficult, though I do like how they show you your options in detail up front, making things a little easier to plan. However, I hope they go back to the older system, or at least develop some type of hybrid. I also like the changes they made to the aesthetics. The world looks great, and I find myself looking around and enjoying the sights much more than I did in Fallout 3, while it still exudes the post-apocalyptic theme. I also like that certain areas will have decorations for specific holidays, which adds to the lived-in feel. The character models aren't the best looking of the time, but they aren't ugly either. The overall sound design is good if a little buggy, as the directional sound will mute unrealistically, leading to some dialogue being hard to hear. The voice work though is pretty solid, but you will notice some lip sync issues along with other issues if you don't limit your frame rate. The gun sounds are still a little weak in my opinion, but are otherwise okay. The music is pretty solid, though it may not quite be up to par with Fallout 3. It does exhibit similar characteristics. The exploration music is droning, the fighting music is more punchy and brassy, and of course there is a decent collection of music on the radio. Unfortunately, Bethesda neglected to improve their accessibility. There are no subtitles and no language options. I do commend the ability to change the HUD color and feel that the difficulty options should be adequate for most players. However, there still is a lot of work that should have been done to make this game more playable. While not quite as available as Skyrim due to its more limited release on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and digitally on GOG and Steam, it is reasonably convenient due to its more extensive settings options, including the ability to fully remap a controller, which in turn increases the accessibility. I have seen a few bugs in the game, but most of them were years ago, and even the issues caused by having unlimited FPS are more tolerable than they were in Skyrim. Overall, the experience of Fallout 4 is a step forward in some ways, and a step back in others. While the gunplay is better than in Fallout 3, it isn't up to standard. The story also feels weaker despite having more nuance and methods of approach. This is likely due to the lack of focus, despite it actually making sense within the world and the time frame that the story takes place. It was definitely a difficult situation for the writers, especially when it was sandwiched between Bethesda's patented style of padding a game. Honestly, the more I play Bethesda games, the more shallow the game systems seem to be. Their ability to stunt my negative feelings with cool quests is fading with exposure, especially when those cool quests seem to appear less and less with each game. However, I still think that this makes Fallout 4 a decent, albeit barely. I do enjoy playing it more than other games, but honestly, I think it's going to be a long time before I pick it up again, if ever at all. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Consider checking out my last review on Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, and I'll see you in the virtual commute. Bye.